Every morning, countless people over 60 sit down to breakfast, believing they're giving their bodies a healthy start. Yet tucked inside that routine is a mistake so ordinary, so overlooked, that it silently speeds up wrinkles, robs energy, and even weakens bones. It isn't a rare food or exotic ingredient. It's something you probably had this week without a second thought. Harmless as it seems, research shows it can make you age years faster than nature intended. The best part? Once you recognize it, fixing the problem is shockingly simple. After 60, every meal you eat has a bigger impact than it did when you were younger. But breakfast carries a unique weight. It's the first signal your body receives after hours of fasting overnight, a signal that sets the tone for energy, hormones, and even cellular repair throughout the day. Think of it as the conductor of an orchestra. If the opening note is off-key, the rest of the performance suffers. That's why what you choose to eat in the morning becomes more critical as the years go by. The body you had at 25 is not the same body you carry at 60. Metabolism naturally slows down, muscle mass decreases, and hormones shift, making it harder to process certain foods efficiently. The digestive system becomes more sensitive, blood sugar control weakens, and the margin for error shrinks. Where once your body could bounce back from sugary breakfast or a missed meal, now those choices have a ripple effect that touches everything from your joints to your memory. This is why breakfast, once a casual routine, becomes a cornerstone of aging well. Here's the catch. The foods most people turn to for breakfast are precisely the ones that accelerate aging. Juice, cereal, white bread, pastries, and even flavored yogurts look innocent enough. They're convenient, quick, and often marketed as healthy. But underneath that comforting sweetness lies a biochemical storm. These foods are high in simple sugars and refined carbohydrates, which flood your system with glucose the moment you swallow. It feels satisfying for a short while, but it triggers a chain reaction inside your body that can quietly shave years off your vitality. When you eat a high-sugar breakfast, your blood sugar spikes rapidly. In response, your pancreas releases insulin, the hormone designed to clear that sugar from your bloodstream. The problem is that these spikes, repeated day after day, strain your system. Over time, your cells become less responsive to insulin, a condition known as insulin resistance. And insulin resistance isn't just about diabetes. It's one of the most powerful accelerators of aging we know. Insulin resistance fuels chronic inflammation, and inflammation is like rust spreading through the body. It stiffens blood vessels, weakens muscles, slows brain function, and damages skin elasticity. The very fibers that keep your skin firm and youthful, collagen and elastin, are attacked by sugar molecules in a process called glycation, leaving behind wrinkles and sagging. Meanwhile, the constant roller coaster of blood sugar leaves you feeling drained, mentally foggy, and more prone to afternoon crashes. It doesn't stop there. Muscle tissue, already under threat from age-related decline, is starved of the steady fuel it needs to maintain strength. Bones, too, pay the price as inflammation interferes with calcium absorption and repair. And the brain, so dependent on stable glucose levels, struggles when faced with repeated highs and lows, leaving you more forgetful and less focused. Think about the mornings when you've had a glass of orange juice, a bowl of cereal, or a piece of toast with jam. For an hour, you may feel fine, even energized, but soon after fatigue creeps in. Your mind feels slower, your muscles heavier, and you're tempted to reach for another cup of coffee or a snack. That cycle repeats every single day, reinforcing the very patterns that make aging feel harsher than it has to. The hidden danger isn't in skipping breakfast. It's in believing the wrong breakfast is doing you good. By starting the day with a sugar rush disguised as nourishment, you're not just feeding hunger, you're feeding inflammation, fatigue, and weakness. For someone over 60, that seemingly harmless choice becomes a silent force, pulling you toward faster aging. And the worst part? Most people don't even realize they're doing it. Aging is often described as a natural process, but science has revealed that it isn't simply about the calendar moving forward. Inside the body, three powerful forces drive how quickly or slowly we age: glycation, oxidative stress, and chronic inflammation. These are the hidden accelerators that determine whether you maintain vitality into your 70s and 80s, or whether fatigue, weakness, and visible aging catch up with you far sooner. And here's the startling truth. The wrong kind of breakfast feeds all three of these processes every single morning. Let's start with glycation. At its core, glycation is what happens when sugar molecules attach themselves to proteins in the body, essentially caramelizing them in a way that makes them stiff, brittle, and less functional. Think of it like pouring syrup onto a delicate fabric. It sticks, hardens, and eventually ruins the texture. In your body, the proteins most affected are collagen and elastin, the ones responsible for keeping your skin firm, your joints flexible, and your blood vessels resilient. Every time you consume a high-sugar breakfast, such as juice or sweetened cereal, you flood your system with glucose that accelerates glycation. Over the years, this shows up as wrinkles, sagging skin, and stiff arteries, the unmistakable fingerprints of premature aging. Next comes oxidative stress. Your body naturally produces free radicals, unstable molecules that can damage cells. Normally, antioxidants from healthy foods and your body's own defenses keep them in check. But when you start the day with refined carbohydrates or sugar-heavy foods, oxidative stress skyrockets. Spikes in blood sugar increase free radical production, overwhelming your defenses. It's as though you've lit a fire inside your cells and then walked away without a fire extinguisher. The damage is subtle at first, but over time, it chips away at your energy, your immunity, and even your memory. Then there's inflammation, the slow-burning flame that underlies nearly every age-related disease. Inflammation is supposed to protect you in short bursts, like when you cut your finger or fight off a cold. But when it becomes chronic, it erodes the body from the inside out. Processed breakfast foods do exactly that. They push your blood sugar up, forcing your insulin levels to rise, and the repeated strain creates low-grade, constant inflammation. This inflammation doesn't cause immediate pain you can point to. Instead, it quietly wears away at your muscles, bones, and brain, leaving you weaker, slower, and more vulnerable than you should be. To see how powerful breakfast can be in shaping these processes, let's look at an example. Researchers studied two groups of older adults. One group that started their mornings with high-carb, sugary foods, and another that consumed protein-rich meals such as eggs, yogurt, or nuts. The difference was striking. Those who stuck to carb-heavy breakfasts experienced rapid spikes and crashes in blood sugar, reported more fatigue, and showed higher markers of inflammation in their blood tests. In contrast, the protein-rich group maintained steadier energy throughout the day, showed improved muscle retention, and had fewer complaints of brain fog. The food choices made in those first waking hours literally set the trajectory of how their bodies aged. You can see these differences play out in everyday life. Someone who relies on cereal and juice may feel alert at first, but by mid-morning, they're yawning, unfocused, or searching for another snack. Their skin may appear duller, fine lines deepen faster, and cuts or bruises take longer to heal. Their bones grow more fragile because chronic inflammation interferes with how minerals are absorbed and deposited. Their muscles shrink more quickly because they're missing the steady stream of protein that signals the body to preserve strength. These aren't coincidences. They're the physical evidence of glycation, oxidative stress, and inflammation working in unison, powered by the wrong breakfast choices. On the other hand, someone who opts for protein and fiber begins the day in an entirely different state. Their blood sugar rises gradually instead of spiking, avoiding the crash that leads to exhaustion. Their cells are less burdened by free radicals, allowing them to focus on repair rather than damage control. Their collagen and elastin remain more intact, keeping their skin firmer for longer. Their muscles receive the amino acids they need to stay strong, and their bones are better supported with stable nutrient absorption. The science is clear. Breakfast isn't just about filling your stomach. It's about setting a pace for how gracefully you age. What's remarkable is that most people never connect their breakfast habits to the fatigue they feel at noon, the stubborn wrinkles in the mirror, or the slower recovery from everyday bumps and scrapes. But beneath the surface, every bagel, every sweetened yogurt, Every glass of juice is quietly scripting the story of how old you will feel tomorrow, next year, and a decade from now. Food is more than fuel, it's instruction. And the instructions you give your body first thing in the morning matter more than you think. If the wrong breakfast choices are so damaging, you might wonder, why do so many people, especially those over 60, fall into this trap every morning? The answer lies not just in biology, but in decades of clever marketing, cultural habits, and the comfort of routine. What seems like a normal breakfast today was carefully designed by food companies, not nutrition science, and those choices have quietly shaped the way entire generations eat. Consider cereal. Before the early 1900s, breakfast was often hearty: eggs, meats, or grains cooked from scratch. But the cereal industry transformed mornings forever. With bright boxes, cartoon mascots, and slogans about part of a complete breakfast, companies convinced families that pouring sugary flakes into a bowl was not only acceptable, but healthy. Over the years, cereals loaded with sugar and refined grains were marketed as quick, modern, and even beneficial. For children, this created a lifelong association between breakfast and cereal. And those children grew up, carried the habit into adulthood, and are now in their 60s and 70s, still trusting the same messages that were fed to them decades ago. Then came orange juice. In reality, juice is fruit stripped of its fiber, leaving behind a glass full of concentrated sugar. But marketing campaigns in the mid-20th century positioned it as the ultimate symbol of health and vitality. A day without orange juice is like a day without sunshine, one famous ad declared, planting the idea that juice was not only refreshing but essential. Even today, many seniors faithfully pour themselves a glass each morning, believing they're getting a dose of wellness, when in truth, it's more like drinking liquid candy. The confusion doesn't stop there. Products like low-fat yogurts, granola bars, and instant oatmeal were sold as the healthier choice during the diet craze of the 1980s and 1990s. Yet most of these foods are pumped full of added sugars to make up for the flavor lost when fat is removed. A low-fat yogurt can contain as much sugar as a dessert. A granola bar, marketed as a wholesome snack, is often closer to a candy bar. Instant oatmeal packets, flavored with brown sugar or maple syrup, may carry the same blood sugar impact as eating a pastry. Seniors, trusting the promises on packaging, often turn to these foods thinking they're protecting their health, when in reality, they're falling right into the same cycle of blood sugar spikes and crashes. Why does this mistake persist so strongly in older adults? Habit is part of the answer. Many seniors grew up with routines that have lasted a lifetime. That bowl of cereal or glass of juice isn't just food. It's tradition, comfort, and familiarity. Taste plays another role. Sweet breakfasts are appealing because sugar lights up the brain's reward pathways, offering a brief rush of pleasure and energy. And convenience cannot be ignored. For someone who may not want to spend much time in the kitchen, pouring a bowl of cereal feels far easier than cooking eggs or preparing a protein-rich alternative. This is where the emotional trap lies. People genuinely believe they are doing something good for themselves. A senior might sit down with a glass of juice and low-fat yogurt, feeling proud that they've avoided greasy foods or heavy meals. They may even feel reassured by the health claims printed on the packaging. Yet the very choices they think are keeping them young are, in fact, accelerating the very process they fear: aging. And that is perhaps the most heartbreaking part of this story. No one wakes up wanting to harm themselves. Seniors, in particular, often want to do everything they can to preserve their independence, strength, and health. But because of misleading messages and ingrained habits, many are unknowingly feeding the forces that make them feel older, weaker, and more tired than they should. It's not a failure of willpower. It's a failure of the system that taught them what healthy looks like. Imagine starting every day with an invisible push toward aging faster. That's what happens when the first meal of the morning is built on sugar and processed carbs. The effects aren't immediate, like a sudden headache or stomachache. Instead, they creep in slowly, showing up as weaker muscles, fragile bones, fading memory, and skin that seems to age overnight. These are the consequences most seniors notice but rarely connect back to their breakfast plate. One of the most significant consequences is muscle loss, also known as sarcopenia. After the age of 60, muscle naturally begins to decline at a faster rate, making strength and balance harder to maintain. The body depends on steady protein intake to preserve muscle tissue, but many breakfast foods, like cereal, toast, or juice, offer almost none. Instead, they flood the system with sugar, leaving muscles without the building blocks they desperately need. Over time, this leads to weakness, reduced mobility, and a greater risk of falls and injuries. It's not that the body can't hold onto muscle. It's that it's being starved of the right fuel at the very moment it needs it most. Bones suffer, too. Chronic sugar intake interferes with how the body absorbs and uses key nutrients like calcium, magnesium, and vitamin D. This is especially dangerous for seniors who are already at higher risk of osteoporosis. A high-sugar breakfast may taste harmless, but it chips away at bone strength over the years. Imagine two people in their 70s, one who relies on protein-rich, nutrient-dense meals, and another who sticks to juice and toast. The first is more likely to have sturdy bones and confidence in their step, while the second faces fractures and frailty with even minor accidents. The connection is rarely made, but breakfast is quietly setting the stage for resilience or fragility. The brain is equally sensitive. When blood sugar spikes from a high-carb breakfast, the surge may bring a fleeting burst of energy, but what follows is a crash that leaves the brain foggy and unfocused. Repeated daily, these swings take a toll on memory, concentration, and long-term brain health. Studies show that insulin resistance, often fueled by years of poor dietary choices, doesn't just affect the body. It affects the brain as well, increasing the risk of cognitive decline and even dementia. For seniors who notice they're more forgetful, less sharp, or struggling to stay focused, the answer might not be in a crossword puzzle or memory game. It could be in what's on their breakfast table. And then there's the skin, the most visible marker of aging. Glycation, the process where sugar molecules attach to proteins, weakens collagen and elastin, the very fibers that keep skin smooth and firm. A steady diet of sugary breakfast speeds this process, causing wrinkles to deepen and skin to sag more quickly. While expensive creams and treatments promise to turn back the clock, the truth is that the battle against aging skin often starts with what you eat. Each morning of cereal or juice is like adding another layer to the problem, while choosing the right foods can slow it down. All of this paints a sobering picture. A senior who begins the day with juice, toast, or a pastry may think they're making a harmless or even healthy choice. But what's really happening is that their muscles are being deprived of protein, their bones are being stripped of strength, their brain is riding a roller coaster of highs and lows, and their skin is aging from the inside out. It's like rolling a heavy boulder uphill each day, only to push it right back down again with the very first meal. Consider a simple example. Mary, age 68, starts her day with a glass of orange juice and a bagel. She feels good at first, but by mid-morning, she's tired, her joints ache, and she can't seem to remember where she placed her reading glasses. Across town, James, age 70, eats eggs with spinach and avocado. His blood sugar stays stable, his energy remains consistent, and he feels sharp well into the afternoon. Both are the same age, but their bodies are aging at different speeds, all because of the choices made at breakfast. The consequences may feel invisible at first, but they add up in profound ways. Every sugary breakfast is like taking a step toward weakness, fragility, and fatigue. Every protein-rich, balanced breakfast is a step toward strength, resilience, and clarity. For seniors, those steps don't just determine how old they look, they shape how young they feel, how well they move, and how fully they live. If the wrong breakfast choices can quietly push you toward faster aging, the right ones can do the exact opposite. Every morning is an opportunity to send your body a powerful message of strength, resilience, and renewal. The formula is surprisingly simple: protein, healthy fat, and fiber. Together, these three elements create a breakfast that fuels your muscles, protects your bones, supports your brain, and even keeps your skin looking younger for longer. It's not about skipping breakfast. It's about reshaping it into a tool for anti-aging. Protein is the foundation. It provides the amino acids your body needs to repair tissues, build muscle, and maintain energy throughout the day. For seniors, protein is especially important because it counteracts sarcopenia, the gradual loss of muscle that accelerates after 60. By making protein the centerpiece of your breakfast, you're telling your body to hold on to strength rather than letting it slip away. Healthy fats are the second piece of the puzzle. Foods like avocado, nuts, and seeds provide omega-3s and other fatty acids that reduce inflammation, nourish brain cells, and support supple skin. Fat also helps slow the digestion of carbohydrates, keeping blood sugar levels steady instead of spiking and crashing. This means more consistent energy, fewer cravings, and sharper mental clarity as the day unfolds. Fiber completes the trio. Found in vegetables, berries, oats, and flax, fiber slows digestion, feeds the healthy bacteria in your gut, and helps your body absorb nutrients more effectively. For seniors, fiber is also critical for maintaining digestive health, lowering cholesterol, and supporting heart health. Combined with protein and healthy fat, fiber ensures your breakfast works with your body rather than against it. So what does this look like on the plate? Start with something as classic and satisfying as eggs with vegetables and avocado. Eggs deliver high-quality protein, while the veggies add fiber and antioxidants. A slice of avocado on the side provides healthy fat that keeps you full and nourishes your skin from the inside out. This kind of breakfast sets a steady tone for your body, helping muscles recover, protecting bones, and fueling your brain with clarity. Another powerful option is Greek yogurt topped with berries and nuts. Greek yogurt is rich in protein and probiotics, which support both muscle health and gut health. Berries provide antioxidants that fight oxidative stress, slowing the aging process at the cellular level. Nuts bring in healthy fats and minerals, reducing inflammation and giving your body the raw materials it needs to keep bones and joints strong. Together, it's a meal that feels indulgent but works tirelessly behind the scenes to keep you younger. For those who enjoy something warm and comforting, oatmeal can still be a smart choice if it's done right. Skip the instant packets loaded with sugar and flavorings, and instead prepare plain oats topped with chia seeds, ground flax, and a spoonful of almond butter. This combination transforms oatmeal into a nutrient powerhouse, rich in fiber, omega-3s, and protein. The result is a breakfast that not only satisfies but also keeps blood sugar steady, preserving energy and mental sharpness for hours. What these meals all have in common is balance. Instead of a quick sugar rush, they deliver steady fuel. Instead of draining collagen and accelerating wrinkles, they protect skin by reducing glycation and oxidative stress. Instead of leaving muscles starving, they provide the protein needed to preserve strength. Instead of fogging the brain, they nourish it with the fats and steady glucose supply it craves. The beauty of this anti-aging formula is that it isn't complicated. You don't need exotic superfoods or expensive supplements, just real, whole ingredients combined in the right way. By shifting your breakfast from sugar and refined carbs to protein, healthy fat, and fiber, you're not just avoiding harm. You're actively building a body that feels younger, stronger, and more resilient. Each morning becomes an investment in the years ahead. Proof that age is not just a number, but a choice shaped one meal at a time. Change is never easy, especially when it comes to something as comforting and routine as breakfast. For many seniors, the first meal of the day has been shaped by decades of habit, whether it's toast with jam, a glass of orange juice, or a sweet pastry with tea. These foods can feel like a small source of joy, a familiar ritual that starts the day on a pleasant note. But the problem is the same sweetness that feels comforting in a moment quietly chips away at long-term vitality. The good news? Transitioning away from these choices doesn't mean losing pleasure. It simply means swapping them for alternatives that satisfy cravings while protecting your body. One of the biggest hurdles is the craving for sweetness in the morning. It's not just psychological, it's biological. After a night of fasting, your body is primed to absorb sugar quickly, which can make the idea of fruit juice, sweet cereals, or jam-top toast especially appealing. But while these options give an instant lift, they're followed by a crash that leaves you drained, foggy, and often hungrier than before. To break this cycle, the key is to balance sweetness with stability. Instead of cutting it out entirely, replace refined sugars with natural flavors paired with protein, fat, and fiber. This way, you still enjoy the pleasure of taste without the roller coaster ride of energy spikes and crashes. For example, consider the morning glass of juice. It seems healthy, but it's essentially sugar water stripped of fiber. A simple, refreshing swap is sparkling water with a squeeze of lemon or a handful of berries dropped in. You still get the bright, fruity flavor and the sense of refreshment, but without the surge of sugar. Over time, your taste buds adapt, and you begin to appreciate the natural sweetness of fruit in its whole form rather than in concentrated liquid. Then there's the beloved toast with jam. For decades, this has been the classic breakfast staple, but white bread plus jam is essentially fast sugar on sugar. A smarter swap is whole grain toast with almond or peanut butter. You get the comforting crunch of toast, but now it's paired with fiber, protein, and healthy fats that keep you satisfied far longer. The nut butter adds richness that feels indulgent, while whole grains support steady energy and gut health. If you still crave sweetness, topping it with a few slices of banana or fresh berries gives you natural sugar paired with nutrients rather than empty calories. The idea isn't to make breakfast complicated or burdensome. In fact, simplicity is the secret. Many seniors worry that healthier meals require special ingredients or lots of preparation, but that's not true. A boiled egg with a slice of avocado can be made in minutes. Greek yogurt with nuts and berries requires no cooking at all. Overnight oats can be prepared the night before, ready to eat first thing in the morning. Keeping a few staples, like eggs, plain oats, nut butter, and fresh fruit, on hand ensures you always have the building blocks for a nourishing meal without stress. What's most important to remember is that this isn't about giving up taste, it's about gaining vitality. Every small swap compound into big results. Over weeks and months, steady blood sugar translates into sharper memory, stronger muscles, healthier bones, and even skin that looks more youthful. Those quiet but powerful benefits are far greater than the fleeting pleasure of a sugar spike. And as many discover, once the body adjusts, cravings for overly sweet breakfast fade, replaced by an appreciation for flavors that energize rather than exhaust. Transitioning your breakfast isn't about restriction, it's about empowerment. Each swap is a statement. I choose energy over fatigue, strength over weakness, clarity over fog. For seniors especially, this shift is not just about one meal, it's about reclaiming control over aging itself. With every bite, you're proving to your body that vitality doesn't have to fade with time. In fact, it can grow stronger one morning at a time. The truth is, aging doesn't have to feel like a steady decline, and it certainly shouldn't be fueled by the first meal you eat each day. That seemingly harmless breakfast habit may have been quietly pushing you toward fatigue, weaker muscles, and faster aging. But now you hold the power to change course. By making smarter swaps, each morning becomes an opportunity to strengthen your body, protect your mind, and reclaim your vitality. Small choices build momentum, adding energy to your days and years to your life.